under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to the Radnor Township Environmental Advisory Council meeting. Today is August 23rd, 2012. And our first item on the agenda is the review and approval of our minutes. We've circulated the minutes of our last meeting, which was held on July 26th. Does anyone have any corrections or changes to the minutes that were circulated? Do you have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
And a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda are announcements. I have a few to start. Wanted to mention the upcoming household hazardous waste collection events. That'll be this fall. These are being held by Delaware County. The first one this fall will be on Thursday, September 13th at Rose Tree Park. It'll be held from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's at 1671 North Providence Road in Media. Following that, there will be one on a Saturday in October 13th, and that'll be at the Upper Chichester Municipal Building. So be a good time as you're doing some clean out at the end of the summer. You find that you've got household hazardous waste, good time to put them aside and collect them, get ready to drop them off at those events.
Sorry, Brenda, is there a website where people can figure out what is and isn't accepted?
Yes, you can go to www.co.delaware.pa.us/recycle/hhw.html, or you can do what I did, which is just go to Google and put Delaware County Household Hazardous Waste and just click on the first thing that comes up. That'll work too. All right, great. Okay. I also wanted to announce, this will be the last time I'm announcing this. I announce it every time, or at least I have for the last few months, is the upcoming Green Building Celebration being hosted by the Delaware Valley Green Building Council. It'll be held on Thursday, September 27th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Barnes Foundation. They are have a brand new building downtown on the Parkway, and it is registered LEED Platinum, and they will be awarded their LEED Platinum plaque that night at a nice event. There will be tours of the art exhibit and tours featuring the sustainable elements of their new building. Advanced registration is required. I'd encourage folks to come and attend. It is on the same night as our monthly EAC meeting. I will be at the event, but Josh will be here chairing the meeting, so I appreciate that. The other item I wanted to note is the U.S. Green Building Council is organizing what they're calling a Green Apple Day of Service, and this will be the first time that they're doing it, but I think they're hoping to make it into an annual event. And what they're trying to do is to get schools around the country to register to do a service event, everybody doing it on the same day, which would be on September 29th, which is a Saturday, the end of September. And they have a Center for Green Schools trying to promote sustainability in schools. And what they'd like to do is have people that are in communities and interested in organizing an event come up with an idea. Their website actually has many ideas if you don't have one of your own with respect to a sustainability project at your school. Get it organized, register it so that they can keep track of what people are doing, and then use that as a basis for sharing that information with other schools. So, for example, it doesn't really need to be anything too fancy, but you can do things as sophisticated as energy audits or water audits, or as simple as landscaping, creating a mural, planting a garden, setting up rain barrels, or educational activities with the kids. So I think this would be a great opportunity for our schools to get involved. And I was talking to Esther Choi over at Ithan Elementary School, and she's talking with the principal there about trying to get it set up at Ithan. And I know other people on the EAC have children in Radnor Elementary Schools, so that might be a great opportunity to present that idea to the green committees of the other schools if you are so inclined, or if other people have contacts. So I would encourage that. And then if people are involved in the schools, sort of keep an eye out for announcements regarding that. And we would love to have great participation. Okay. Terrific. Let's see. Okay. That's all I have as far as announcements. Do other folks have announcements? No?
Oh, Brenda, can
Yes.
I just note that on September 15th, that's a Saturday, there'll be the annual canoe event of the Darby Creek Valley Association. That meets at the Heinz Refuge, and people canoe down the stream and into the refuge and to the mouth of the creek, the confluence with the Delaware, and it's really quite fun to see the refuge from the water. So that's on the Darby Creek Valley Association's website, www.dcva.org.
And do you need to register in advance, or?
Actually, they have people show up. They usually have some extra canoes to rent if people don't bring their own.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. All right, we'll move into our work group reports and discussion. And first item is the greenhouse gas action plan and the Radnor Green Team. Josh, do you want to report out on the great result on Monday night?
Yeah, as our group knows already, but I'll tell you that we got approval of our resolution to approve the greenhouse gas reduction action plan that we submitted to the Board of Commissioners on Monday night's meeting, and or that's when we got our approval. Yeah, that's great. And the resolution also included the sort of the blessing of the formation of the Radnor Green Team, which has a captain right now in Melissa Kahn,
Right.
The employee with the township, and the rest of the members are sort of being fleshed out now, but they're going to include other members of the township, departments that have responsibility of things that have greenhouse gas implications. So yeah, I think it's been a long time coming, and I'm thrilled to turn the page onto the
Start implementing.
yeah, I guess, right? It's never ending, right? But
right.
at least we can turn the page from planning to let's get down to business here and start implementing some items. We should keep in mind that the follow-up steps to the greenhouse gas action plan are where you sort of set yourself a goal of either tons or percentage reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. You implement the items on the plan, and then you verify your results. So that's where we're moving into now.
And I think the Green Team will provide an added benefit. Not only are they looking at the items that we've developed, but they're also thinking about the things that they're doing and how they might be able to change some of the things that they're doing on a daily basis to make it more green, more sustainable.
Yeah, and then they're going to look to the other members of the Green Team to bounce ideas off of them and cross-check to see if there's any kind of help that they can offer. And then, of course, the EAC is going to have a presence either on the Green Team or sort of alongside of the Green Team to offer our time and our expertise and our willingness to do some research that maybe they might not have the time to do. So if the Green Team needs some help finding a grant or some incentives to buy a piece of equipment or to do a study or whatever, we're here to help. So they understand that, and they're looking forward to working with us.
Right, and actually Melissa is working on getting the kickoff meeting scheduled for the Green Team, and I know Josh has expressed interest in providing EAC support at Green Team meetings and Sloan as well. Are there any other members of the EAC that want to be involved in that Green Team and you get notice of meetings and things like that? Okay, great. All right, very good.
I think that would be a great thing if we could rotate, maybe if not all of us, a nice pool of us. That way you get some new ideas every time a different person attends the meeting.
Great. Okay, I will let her know, and.
Good job,
probably be
Josh.
hearing from her.
That was
Yeah,
a lot of effort
excellent,
on your end.
excellent work.
So congrats.
And thanks to all you guys for your help, too. I appreciate it.
Okay. And actually, Melissa also sent me word saying that she had followed up on some information that we had sent to her from the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. They have a circuit rider for energy efficiency in local government operations program, and you can apply for this program where DVRPC will come out, help you evaluate where there may be opportunities for energy efficiency in your operations. So she's applied to that. It's an EPA-funded program, so we'll look forward to hearing whether they're successful in that application. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next work group, sustainability, and we'll do the water sense tip of the month, and Steve has that this month.
Yes, the water sense tip of the month is, I think, applicable to anyone who has a bathroom, but also specifically if you're doing a renovation. So when doing a bathroom renovation, it is in your best interest to use fixtures that carry a water sense label. And this makes sense. I want to throw out some interesting statistics that they had on the EPA website, is if 1 in every 10 households used water sense labeled fixtures in their bathrooms, that annually the country would save 74 billion gallons of water and about $1.6 billion on utility bills. So how that quote unquote trickles down to the individual house is that using water sense labeled fixtures in your own bathroom would save you an estimated 7,000 gallons annually, or about 6 months worth of laundry, and 200 kilowatt hours, which is about 2 months worth of running your refrigerator, all from changing and using fixtures that have the water sense label. So that's the tip of the month, and I thought it was pretty relevant.
And Josh and I were just talking about that beforehand. I just changed out 3 toilets, and I got all water sense toilets and some fixtures as well. And there's a lot of choices out there. So
Good.
it wasn't as though you went and there was just the one.
Yes.
A lot of different styles of fixtures, toilets, everything. So
We'll be
I would encourage
expecting
folks
a
to.
detailed cost analysis in a year.
Josh is very good at that. I'm going to have to invite him to my house and get out all my bills, right? And he'll go through it and put together a nice chart.
And I'll make a note that I also did 2 toilet replacement. I think they're coming in Thursday to do them. I bought them already. And the price range on water sense labeled toilets is not it's not a premium necessarily a toilet that carries a premium. You can get water sense labeled toilets from the whole, from $200 or $100, whatever the bottom is, on up. So yeah, plenty of options.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's actually really relevant, because when I think of a high pressure shower, I don't think of something that aesthetically is very pleasing, but when you hear about the different choices you're saying that there are out there, that you can find something, I think that's really
The stuff
encouraging.
looks great. I mean, you
Yeah.
would not know from looking at it that it was, and even from using it necessarily, it doesn't seem like you're turning it on and just getting a drip. It looks nice, it works well, and they seem to be using good materials. Yeah. Okay, great, thank you. The next item is the rain garden projects. So there's a couple of projects going on. There's the Cowan Park project and then the Garrett Hill project. And I know Josh and Dan, you've been following each of these, although I'll just note that I got a little card here from Sarah Pilling regarding the Garrett Hill one. This is the rain garden stormwater project that they received funding through the WREN grant for. And they are hoping to, they're going to have their kickoff meeting on Sunday, September 30th at 2 p.m. here in this room in the Radnor Township building. So for folks that are interested in learning more about that or getting involved, come here Sunday, September 30th at 2 p.m. They're going to have as speakers Rob Travers, Marissa Barletta, and John Neisted. And then they are scheduling their rain garden installation for Saturday, October 27th, and that is at Clemacrone Park in Garrett Hill. Jen, I don't know if you have any more information about that, or that's what
I don't really have
so far.
any more about that. I was just going to give the update on Cowan,
Okay.
which is not much. I've been to the park. It looks like they've excavated where this park is meant to go, and I've got a couple phone calls into Steve Norsini, and we just haven't connected yet on the timing. But I would hope that we would, if we're going to plant this year, we probably should do it by mid-October at the latest, and just waiting to hear from him on what he's thinking the
Okay.
timing might be.
All right, very good.
And is that the one that you were looking for recommendations on plantings, or are you past that point?
I mean, I have some information, and I've got some landscape architect friends I can
Oh,
tap
great.
for that
Okay.
as well.
Okay, very good. Well, keep us posted. All right. Next item is Planning Commission institutional zoning. And Skip, we typically have liaison reports, and you talk about issues on planning there. I put this here under our work group since we've now formed a little group to be working with you on this issue. So is there any update or anything you want to report out on?
Sure. The next meeting is September 6th. It is at 7:30, which is not typical, but is necessary for some other township reason. I have not yet received, although we are supposed to receive in some way preliminary materials, but I will be happy to circulate those
Okay.
to everyone. And I think we are supposed to get, if my recollection is correct, the beginnings of or an actual preliminary draft of a proposed ordinance, so it'll be very interesting. That week, we also have our regular planning meeting 2 days earlier on the 4th. So we will be here a lot and doing our duty and et cetera.
We appreciate your hard work.
Well, this is, the interesting part about this is that the learning curve for both the Planning Commission and the Township starts with this part, because this is the biggest chunk of the code that we're going to tackle in terms of revision and review to start. I mean, we do periodically little things like bed and breakfast, language, or some, and I shouldn't minimize shade tree because that's actually a fairly large and important part, but this is a real hot button all over the township. Lots of decisions that can be made in terms of our orientation towards this chunk of the ordinance can translate into other sections. I don't know if we'll be using the same consultant or not, but the possibilities are going to be explored, I believe, a little further. We plan to have meetings as long as into December to get this right.
Okay. All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or anything for Skip?
I have additional liaison stuff, but that's after this.
Okay, all right. Next item is Open Space Committee, and Ann, did you have a report out on what's happening with
Right, I
them?
haven't reported back on this in a while, and I guess one thing I should note is that the subcommittee actually changed its name from the Open Space Subcommittee to the Greenways and Open Space Network Plan Subcommittee. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Forget that.
Start again.
Okay. The first thing I should note is that what was at one time referred to as the Open Space Subcommittee changed its name to the Greenways and Open Space Network Plan Subcommittee. There were actually a couple open space committees, and it was getting confusing. So the mission of this particular subcommittee at the moment is to help the township proceed toward a plan under the grant that we've received for the plan from the Department of Natural Resources. So at the moment, we are working on developing a scope of work statement so that then the township, we're working with Kevin Kachansky in the township so that he can put out a request for proposals for the consultant that we will need in order to get the open space plan pulled together. So that's the basic work of the committee, and it's moving slowly. I also wanted to share, though, with you some of the discussion at the last meeting, where rather than focusing specifically on that task, our chairs decided that it would be helpful to have a meeting with township personnel to talk about some open space and some space considerations going on currently in the township. This was specifically prompted by the township's notice that that the 2 buildings on the Willows property are available for sale, that they're willing to look into that. And some people on the subcommittee were concerned that that reflected a change in the township's commitment to open space. But Mr. Ziankowski was there and was very clear that and I think, and he said that the statements are very clear, that the buildings and a small footprint with each building is for sale, but that the rest of the Willows will remain open space for township recreational use. And that they're willing to explore pretty much any use of the 2 properties, so they're waiting to see what kind of interested parties come forward that might want to acquire one or the other of those. So it was helpful to have the record clarified on that. Another thing that came up that I thought was interesting for our purposes in that discussion, which I hadn't been aware of, was that the township has retained a company called CRESA, C-R-E-S-A, to identify all the properties owned by the township. And what has come out of that is that current records are not complete, current records are not accurate. There are records, they've been looking through township records and county records. There are properties that the township believes it owns where there's no record of ownership. There are properties where the descriptions of the properties are significantly out of sync, by tens of acres. And they're also discovering land, sort of scraps of land that the township owns that it wasn't necessarily aware that it owns. So this should actually be helpful when this process is completed for us to look at what property the township has. And part of the discussion was that the more property the township has, the more of that property they may be able to use to help control stormwater.
Great.
And that seemed to be something that they were emphasizing. So it was an interesting discussion. I thought I would just share that with the group.
Okay.
And I'm part of that committee, and I just wanted to add 1 or 2 comments. The Willows situation is largely because the utilization of the facility for special events has been declining for years, and now, in effect, costs the township money just to keep the building available for that purpose. And there was some discussion about the fact that perhaps a more enthusiastic and energetic operating group might turn it around, but that they were definitely exploring the sale.
Okay.
I just had a
That was
question. Does that inventory include easements?
I actually am not sure
Okay.
if they're looking at easements. Skip, do you?
I don't recall them mentioning easements per se. I think it's all actual titled property.
Okay.
Because I think part of the issue is, the shifting of revenue. I mean, township doesn't pay taxes to itself. And I don't think the easements trigger that same discussion.
Yeah. No, it's just
And then
an
there's
interesting.
maintenance issues that you wouldn't have necessarily with an easement.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but I would be surprised if it was anything other than fee property.
Okay, thanks.
And I had a question about this, the name change for the subcommittee. Is it intended to indicate that there's going to be a greater focus on trying to connect parcels of open space?
Yes, I think that's part of the intent, the recognition that there simply isn't a lot of open space in the township. And if you look at the plans, the open space plans in neighboring communities, they've focused not just on parcels of open space, but connecting open space, creating greenways. And of course, then that extends to creating greenways within Radnor that connect to the abutting townships and extend out through the county and neighboring counties. So that clearly is part of the expectation.
Okay, good. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on that, Fran? No? Okay. Community environmental awareness. Josh, we've always kind of left that there for you. I don't know if you have anything, but if you want me to take that off the agenda going forward, we can. But it's always been like a nice little place to put our odds and ends, things going on in the schools.
We might be able to
Yeah.
discuss these happenings in the announcements or something like that. But
Okay.
Heather Riley, who used to serve on the EAC, had been doing a lot of volunteer work at Wayne Elementary School's Green Committee of the PTA.
Okay.
And she used to do these announcements. And I volunteered for that committee for 1 or 2 years. And I believe Heather has moved on to the next school up with her kids. And now we have a new leader of the green team. I think it's our green. There's so many committees and teams. And it's definitely green something, Radnor Green or something. So we were aware of that program you were just discussing.
Green Apple Day of Service?
The Green Apple Day of Service. Very good. And so we're considering that, and it's good to know that Ithan is also considering. So maybe we might be able to team up with them to get something organized, because it's a short turnaround.
It is a short turnaround, and what Ithan is talking about doing right now, because it's a short turnaround, there's some things that they were probably going to be doing in the coming year anyway, but trying to get it scheduled quickly, involving, I think that they have a nature area there, or bird sanctuary. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's a certain area there that's really dedicated to, I guess, bringing in nature to the schoolyard outside of the cut grass areas. And I think they were thinking about doing it around that, cleaning it up, spending a little time with it, bringing the kids outdoors to kind of get them involved. So again, it doesn't have to be anything too sophisticated, but just getting the kids to start thinking about how to green up their school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a nice byproduct of a program like that is it also gets the organization together of the people who are committed and interested in this kind of stuff, and that's kind of what Wayne, I think, needs right now. We need to sort of restaff with some enthusiastic parents, because there's a lot of things to do there. There's, like you said, there's a natural area with a nature trail at Wayne. There's an Audubon bird garden. I can't remember what it's called, but it's what you were just talking about. There's a native garden there. There's a shade tree planting plan, I think, there. So yeah, it would be great to have some parents from Wayne Elementary School to come forward and volunteer. All the elementary schools.
Great.
Because I know Ithan has a green committee. Does Radnor as well? Not sure.
I'm not sure.
No.
But
They should.
I can find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be seeing some folks that have kids there. Let me find out. Okay. All right. Very good. Liaison reports. Skip. What's new in planning?
I have a kind of a mixed bag list, so some of it, I guess, will be pure planning, and some of it will be slightly related, if that's
Okay.
okay. And off and on, I've sent some of this information out piecemeal to everyone on EAC, or hopefully everyone eventually on EAC, when I wasn't, able to remember every address. The biggest single thing that happened recently is a proposal by a real estate investment trust called Biomed to create 875,000 square feet of replacement and new office space on King of Prussia Road, with the property butting up against the back of the R100 station in Radnor. And that's a very early presentation, just to kind of let us know, I guess, their perfect world. And certainly there was no protracted discussion of 90-foot tall buildings, although that was mentioned, and the 1,200 car parking garage that would connect to the R100 station, although that was mentioned. So that, I just wanted to give you all a heads up that that's on the horizon. That's a very, very large project, major impact on traffic and everything else. But coincident with that,
Can I ask whether they're anticipating green features? Did they talk about that at all? Any discussion of
they-
either LEED or just energy efficiency, or
very,
sustainability?
they were the last presentation. It was 11:30 at night, and We could have asked a lot more questions, but we didn't.
They wore you
And-
down.
Yeah, well, basically what I sent around was the PowerPoint, which they didn't actually give to us that night, but it was presented, and then I sent you that copy. I think I sent you that copy.
I don't actually recall receiving that.
Well, if you didn't, I'll get it to
Okay.
you.
If
Okay.
you get it to me, I'll get it to everybody
What do they
else.
do?
It's they call it life sciences office space, so I guess it's pharmaceutical. Their current tenant in I think 555 King of Prussia Road is a successor to Senecor. Begins with a J. I forget the name of the corporation. That tenancy is supposed to end in 2014. So this is a preparation to create 3 buildings that will supposedly equal 875,000 square feet of space. Quite a thing. This is, they said in the presentation, this is the first major office building proposal in probably between 15 and 20 years in the township. And I couldn't be sure of that, but it felt that that might be true. And actual new construction on all 3 buildings, tearing down the existing 555. I think Brandywine is partially partnering with them on this, and I think it involves the Chilton building maybe as well. So it's a big deal coming up.
This
It's
is
like-
the property that you can see from the blue route that's got all the heavy equipment on it, or like, you know, towers and tanks you can see sort of on
Yeah.
the roof, right?
Yeah.
Right
Yes.
behind, right behind that property is, you said, or just to the east of it is the R100 line. And then just on the other side of the R100 line is a very large tract of land that Radnor owns. I think is it the Chew tract? Is that
Yeah,
right?
it is the
What's
Chew
the-
tract. And that came up actually slightly in open space too. That I think they've made an offer to, you know, or an initial feeler offer to create like a path way through that, you know, to the open space so it can be enjoyed by people using the office buildings. A sidelight of this presentation is that this is where I branch out from pure liaison. In Upper Marion Township, the township is involved in, we have a business improvement district, much like the Center City District or the University District. One of our objectives, and I'm in that group, one of our objectives is to initiate a study by SEPTA to extend the R100 line, which would include, in other words, Radnor on into King of Prussia. The last station in King of Prussia before it would branch off is Hughes Park. But that line would then go from Hughes Park to the mall and somewhere over near Mangiano's, we think, and then into the First Avenue area, the office park, and maybe eventually down to Port Kennedy, but that's a lot more money. So in 1997, and I sent this study around after I was able to find it, and I was referred to it by the transportation director of Montgomery County. There was a study about our 2 train stations in Radnor, the R5 and the R100. And back then, the idea to stimulate more use of that transportation nexus was to increase parking. The study has been approved to extend the R100. They're going to look at those 2 stations and possibly, hopefully, explore how to make them more apparently and actively connected, and or possibly moving the R100 station closer to the R5 station, if possible. You'd create an outdoor version of, you know, the connections that are available in the city, that you can walk from the subway to the SEPTA suburban lines without, you know, spending an hour at it. As it is, they're less than a quarter of a mile apart now. So that's a big thing and that will be studied by SEPTA, and there may be some action on that. The study is not due to be finished until late 2013, unfortunately. But the money's all in place, it's funded, it's a leftover earmark from like 7 years ago from the Congress, and it actually is a repeat of a 2003 study that liked it, but they stopped. I don't know why they stopped at the time. This is probably the most popular SEPTA project right now, is to extend the R100 internally in SEPTA, so I'm told. So that's my bigger
Interesting.
news. The last little tiny bit of news is that back on our electric car thing, Upper Marion Township installed 4 charging stations in their parking lot. Although they don't have any electric cars so far because of staff reductions, but their plan is as they need to replace vehicles, they're going to be looking at electric cars and plug-ins.
That's great. Do they have any data on how many electric cars are in the township?
Well, you see,
Residents
their
or
building
others?
is, that's definitely a destination. There's no other reason to be in
Right.
that lot unless you have, the library is there. So that invites a long-term user perhaps to plug in for a few hours. But most people visiting the township building are in and out in less than an hour. So it's really, I look at it as a staff situation. Or just, the logical future, possible
Okay,
use.
good.
So I think I covered my list.
Excellent. And that's a good time to remind people about the electric vehicle charging stations in Wayne, because we want to encourage people to use those. They're located in the parking lot on North Wayne Avenue behind the church. So for anyone that has electric vehicle, we encourage you to go ahead and use those, because it's a pilot project, part of a demonstration, trying to get folks more aware of the infrastructure that's available for electric vehicles. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Skip. Is there any other old business that anyone wants to take up? No? Okay, great. Any other new business? No?
I had a question. I don't know if it comes from me as a citizen or as an EAC member, or if it should even be directed at the Board of Health. But I wanted to bring up the topic of mosquitoes. They've been a disaster in our neighborhood, almost eliminating our ability to go outside, out back. We've been really good on standing water. I just wanted to bring it up as a topic, see if it was something that we wanted to entertain, or if there was at least digging up information. I've been reading about efforts at the county level. I've reached out to my commissioner to see, I haven't heard back yet, but to see if there's anything the township is doing in regards to spraying. It's obviously a national issue, and it's getting worse and worse, so I thought it should be something on our radar.
Right, and I had, interestingly, on that point, last summer, we had so many mosquitoes in our neck of the woods that you just couldn't go outside at all. This summer, nothing. So it may just be a very localized thing. But I certainly have been seeing all of the news releases on the West Nile virus and all of the cases and the deaths in Texas. And so I did have a little bit of email correspondence with my commissioner asking, whether we're going to be doing any spraying or not. Because I'm also I get all the DEP news releases. So every time they're spraying anywhere in Pennsylvania, they put out a press release. And I'm getting so many of those, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I haven't seen anything here locally. And
Maybe I'll look for that alert, because that's
Right.
primarily what I was interested in, is the township or the county or the state going to be doing spraying in the township? And
Right.
if so, could I get on a list?
Right. Well, I think it probably wouldn't hurt to mention it to your commissioner, as I did to mine. And he said that right now Radnor is not scheduled to be sprayed. But I don't know whether that means we just haven't gotten down the list far enough to reach us, or whether they just haven't found the need here.
So maybe the message then is, if you are having a problem, make sure that you're voicing it. So Radnor may not be on the list because no one's saying anything. So
Right.
cool.
You can come to my house if you want. It's pretty nice this summer.
My recollection is that in the past, we have had aerial spraying in Radnor, like somewhere more than 10 years ago and less than maybe 15.
Oh, I think it was last year, and there
Well,
was
I didn't
big
notice that.
controversy because people didn't feel that they had been given sufficient notice, maybe 2 years ago. And so I think the township is going to sort of take whatever extra efforts may be necessary to give people notice of that before it happens. But I think that was the issue. Controversy is people didn't get enough notice, so. Okay. Ann, did you have any?
To end on a happier note, when I went out this morning, I saw 2 bats flying above my house. I haven't seen bats in the area in so long, so maybe they'll move in and eat your mosquitoes.
Great.
Well, now that you mention it, I'm only seeing one where I am this year, and that's really, the lowest ever. But I'll just note that there is information available about putting bat houses in at your house, and because they're beginning to think that really one of the big problems is the concentration of bats and, spreading the virus, that that trying to encourage bats in smaller populations through smaller areas like bat houses is a good idea. The Bat Conservation International has a slew of material online about how to construct bat houses, where to site them, everything. So a lot of great information there.
Somebody was going to.
Dan has.
Dan.
He has
That's me.
He has a
Dan,
bad
where
home.
is
I
that
have like a lot of
demonstration?
notes in here. I just sort of got to get the PowerPoint pulled together, but it's building. It's going to be really great when I'm finally done.
Shall we?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
he's
have a
gonna
bat
do a
house,
presentation
at
of
my
it.
house. Yeah.
When would you like to schedule that for?
Yeah. September next year? No, I'm really. what's that?
October, November?
Yeah.
Well, let's get it on the schedule. We'll talk afterwards, but
All right.
we'll find a date. Because I think sometimes it helps to have a deadline, right?
Definitely.
Yes. Skip.
I forgot one thing.
And make a note of that in the minutes, would you please?
I do want to let everyone know, I had informally discussed this. We are changing our lights at Kunda Beverage from fluorescent to, and they're comparatively new fluorescent fixtures and everything else, but they're still not nearly as efficient as the LED tube lights that you can now get. So we committed to do our main area, and I'll give you preliminary reports as they come in, and perhaps we'll do some kind of a little presentation, maybe after Dan's, but maybe before, about what I anticipate in terms of energy savings and carbon reductions.
Okay, great. That would be fabulous.
And to kind of bring that full circle to the mosquitoes, I was investigating things you can do to, mitigate mosquitoes, the removing standing water and such, and one of them was the LEDs. There are certain types that they say don't attract the types of bugs or mosquitoes to it. I didn't quite wrap my head around it. I wanted to do a little bit more research on it, but
Oh, I can report on that. I have, I replaced my outdoor, the wall sconces you put near your front door, your back door. I replaced, I have an unbelievable number of these things in my house. My garage has 6 of them or 5 of them. But my house has 3. I replaced them with LED lights. They use
standard outdoor LED.
it's a fixture that I replaced the whole fixture, and it's dedicated LED. So it's not like you unscrew it and put an LED bulb in there, but it's still an LED light, and no bugs are attracted to this. Normally you have a nice swarm and you have spider webs because they know the bugs are there. No bugs go to these lights.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Yep.
Are the fixtures weatherproof, or do you have them under a overhang, or what?
Both.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, they're weatherproof. They're outdoor. They're designed to be outdoor wall sconces.
As long as we're getting on further and further on the LED bandwagon, I do want to report that I compared my Pico electric bill after I had told you guys I replaced 12 hi-hat bulbs with LEDs. It's down about 16%. And that's everything else is a constant from last year, pretty much.
That's pretty substantial. That's great. Okay, good. We'll look forward to that presentation, Skip and Dan. All right, is that it?
That's it.
We're good? Okay, well, thank you very much. We're adjourned.